Welcome to this Roll for Crit review for your eyes only, as we take a look at Decrypto from Yellow Games.
This is a clue-giving, word-solving game in which players will be split into two teams, and one person on each of those teams will be their encryptor. Each team is going to have 4 words hidden in these neat little devices, and only the encryptor has access to know what those words actually are. Yeah, you can see they are encrypted with these really cool little magic word techniques. I don't know what you call that.
I just call it a toy gimmick from the 90s.
Yeah, toy gimmick from the 80s or 90s. So, the encryptor on their turn is then going to draw one of these code cards, and it may say something like 3.2.4. The points are just for thematic reasons, but really that means that you're trying to make your team guess in order the third word, the second word, and the fourth word of these boards. And to do that, you need to give them 3 clues. That could be a single word. Often it's a single word. Could be a sentence, though. Could be a noise. It is really up to you. And they are going to try to guess not only which words you're referring to, but what order they're in specifically.
However, you'll be saying these out loud, and your opponent can hear them as well. And they'll be trying to guess your words in addition, and thus decode your secret words. So you can't just give really obvious clues.
Right.
So you'll be working on trying to give clues that either maybe you wouldn't guess unless you already knew the word, or maybe that somehow push it away and try to trick your opponent. Because each round you go through will give more words, and therefore they might be able to get better guesses. So if your first clue was dig, for example, that might not give many things. But if the second word was Jurassic, then you're like, okay, they're talking dinosaurs.
Right, of course. If you manage to intercept the other team's word order, you get an interception token. And if your team fails to guess your words, you get a miscommunication token. If you get 2 miscommunication tokens, you lose. 2 interception tokens, you win. So it really is this battle between trying to give clues that are obvious to your teammates, but hopefully to no one else. And as you said, as the game goes on, it gets progressively harder because hopefully you try to misdirect and maybe give clues that are similar, but it's all about keeping things vague and being complicated about it. If you're familiar with games like Code Words or even things like Taboo, any of those kinds of word guessing games, this is definitely a similar feeling, a similar genre. You will be right at home if you're a Codenames fan, and it has, of course, those same kinds of rules where you can't do things that are specific. They have to relate to the meaning of the word, as opposed to, it can't be like a rhyming clue or something like that. And you have to avoid inside jokes as well. But you might still know what your teammates are thinking and what their experiences are. But you just can't be like, hey, the other day we saw something funny and laughed at a banana peel. So you can try to do things that way. I'm a huge fan of word games. I think we both are. Codenames obviously is huge, and I think this is a great next step. I think what makes it special is the fact that you're kind of playing 2 puzzles at once, your own teams and the other teams.
And that's why I think it's better than Taboo. When Taboo, it's not that there's anything wrong with Taboo.
Sure, it's a simple game.
You're just focusing on your team. The fact that you have to focus on both at the same time is where I think a lot of the fun comes in. I like these, I guess it's sort of word games, but it's more of the creative part. It's not like coming up with the spelling. You have to really think, how can I come up with something really cool and interesting that would work for this? And you have to be careful, too, because I think in the sheet you have 2. One of the ones have, I said 4 of them for Army, if I recall, and that they thought something else with 4 because I didn't think of it with another thing. Right. Like that. By the way, these aren't the words for those, so don't try to match them up.
Yeah, they have a whole bunch of words, and they suggest that you kind of go through them in order so you don't get too many repeats as you play. So, maybe don't pay too much attention to the words we put here, because if you've got the game, you'll probably get more enjoyment if you are unfamiliar with the words that are in it. But even then, even when you get a repeat, you can play with different people, and you never quite know what clues they're going to give, how different it's going to be. And sometimes you can get, because you take turns being the encryptor as you play, and sometimes you can get really mad at different encryptors and be like, okay, now this person's giving a clue, so I know that their thing is going to be very obscure, I need to be careful, or, oh, this person I understand, I'm not as worried.
That's one of those things I think it's not really a Decrypto problem, it's just your general party game.
Yeah, I think specifically, though, with clue givings things as well, that can
I mean, we've had that problem with war words when we argue. confused about someone yes and knowing.
Werewords, yeah. A lot of those kinds of things can come up. So that's something to be wary about. But it's always even if that happens, like usually it's funny. It's usually not upsetting.
You may think that because you know the words, it won't happen too often that like you mix up, but I think it's 8 rounds. That's the max you go through.
You can't, assuming nobody gets tokens before then to win or lose.
I don't think we usually met that. We usually either screwed up enough or were able to solve it.
Yeah.
And it becomes really funny because you think enough time, you're like, because you are timed. And it's the timer there. And, you're like, okay, I've got these perfect clues. There's no way they can mix them up. And they mix them up.
Yeah. It is a really fun game. If you are into that kind of creative puzzle solving and trying to come up with the perfect clue, or even a game like Dixit is another kind of good example. It's not words, but it's a similar kind of thing where you're trying to give clues that are that middle ground of being not too obvious, not too complex.
And I can't remember the actual player count they suggest on this, but because of the way it works, you don't really need like only 4. Just 2 you probably need 4 minimum because 2 on each side.
Yeah, right.
But it's great for if you have larger groups.
They have rules for 3 players, but it seems a little bit not ideal for this game. And you can also have uneven teams, and that's just sort of maybe the nature of the beast, and it could be a little bit unfair, but it is what it is.
I think once again, it depends on the people. If you're really worried about, make sure that you feel the teams are balanced.
Yeah, right. But at the end of the day, it's a party game. It's fun. It's Decrypto. We like it. Now let's decode some crits and misses for Decrypto. Beginning with crits. Because both teams have access to your clues at the same time, you have to be a bit more creative in your thinking to try to come up with different clues that won't give things away too easily.
This allows for a bit more fun and creativity when designing your clues, instead of just trying to have your team guess it like in Taboo as quickly as possible.
The game comes with plenty of extra clue cards for repeat plays, and depending on the group that you're with, even choosing the same words can result in different experiences. It's a party game that works well with different group sizes, even allowing for a large number of players without too much of a hassle.
Obviously, you'll want to make sure everyone gets a chance to be the encryptor, but luckily, even if the game ends before everyone on a team gets a chance, this is a game you can play back to back. Misses. This game does share some of the common hurdles that many word party games may have, such as repeats may end the game early, or depending on who you're team with, you can have a better or worse experience, but that's sort of just the nature of the beast.
Depending on how well you do or don't know your other players, you could come across some clues that just don't work for your playgroup.
Because the game can end quickly, depending on the failure of your team or the success of your opponents, some games can feel a little quick and disappointing. Luckily, this is a fast game, which means if your game ends early, just start up another.
Sometimes it does feel a little bit like the game is over before it really gets going, but again, it's easy to just play a bunch of games in a row and get more experience so that they'll last longer.
We were able to pick up Decrypto back at PAX Unplugged, and since then have enjoyed it very much. It's the perfect kind of party game we enjoy with a lot of creativity behind it. And whether we're on the same team or against, it allows for some really fun back and forth and trying to solve each other's or guess each other's clues. And also, you feel really good when you come up with a clue you know your team's going to guarantee to get.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. If you like these kinds of games, it's a no-brainer. I think the only reason I might say don't pick this one up is because for some groups, if you do already have a bunch of these games like a Codenames and others, it could feel a little bit repetitive, a little bit redundant. But if you can't get enough of them or you don't have one of those already, it's a great option.
Well, in particular, Codenames, I usually think with a smaller player, this is better if you have more larger counts.
Yeah,
and that's a big thing. And obviously, as you said too, who's in your play group? If you have people who don't really like these kinds of creative games, then probably you're not going to have as much of a fun time unless everyone's sort of all in with it.
Yeah, so, you figure that out for yourself whether you like it or not, but we definitely do. Decrypto, and this is another one that was on a bunch of people's top 10 lists, I believe, from 2018. So
we're slowly going to the backlog.
Yeah, all the things that we missed, we're clearing them out. Also, this is our second reviewed 2 weeks in a row that has the word crypt in it. Last week we did cryptid. So let us know in the comments what crypt-related game we should check out next week.
But don't code it. We're not very good at decoding things, so.
Plain English only, please. You can do that in those comments right down below, or also find our website, rollforcrit.com, where you can fill out a form to ask us a question, or find all of the links to our social media, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and talk to us there. We'd love it.
But until then, I'm Will.
I'm Jonathan.
And this has been Roll for Crit Review.
Hey, if you liked this video, then like this video and subscribe to our channel for more board game content.
Would you kindly do it now?